Good afternoon. These are the Poachie Mountains. That'll be the first word I'll mispronounce today. A little higher than I thought. We've got some scrub juniper around here. I'm going to break here and talk some anime.
Pumpkin scissors.
Pumpkin Scissors is a recent TV anime. I'd say it was a story about the aftermath of a war, but that would credit the series with a little more seriousness than it actually has. Pumpkin Scissors is set in an alternate world, a monarchy technologically similar to the late 19th or early 20th century in Central Europe. 3 years before the series begins, there was a great war that ended in an armistice. Even though that was 3 years ago, the economy of the empire still hasn't recovered. Poverty and the suffering it causes is everywhere, from the slums of the capital to the rural farming villages. In the outlying areas, rogue nobles and bands of former soldiers have turned into warlords, using their old weapons to prey on the very people they were originally sent to protect. Starvation and disease run wild, and the government is ineffectual and uncaring. Okay, that sounded pretty grim and serious, but Pumpkin Scissors really isn't all that. It just uses that as a backdrop for a very silly story about an army unit, Section 3, codename Pumpkin Scissors. It's a very tiny band assigned to war relief. Their field commander is Lieutenant Alice Malvin, an idealistic young noblewoman who joined the army to uphold her family's military traditions back when there actually was a shooting war. She never actually got to fight in the war, but now she's an enthusiastic and idealistic true believer in relieving the suffering of the people that have been left behind by the war. But her command has only 2 active soldiers. Oreldo is a dashingly handsome young ladies' man, and Martis, a sort of bureaucrat. Together they can't do much but ride around in a jeep, manage soup kitchens, make big speeches, and try to restrain their enthusiastic commander from getting in over her head. Oh, and they also send messages back to HQ via their cute messenger dog, Mercury. The first episode introduces them to the unemployed Randall Olin, a giant of a man and former soldier with a unique talent and a mysterious past. He has a really huge and impractical handgun and a strange bluish lantern he got from the military. When he flips the switch on that lantern, he becomes a killing machine, impervious to pain or fear. It turns out an idealist like Lieutenant Malvin is just what the former Corporal Olin has been looking for, a way to use his abilities for peace and prosperity. Lieutenant Malvin recruits him on the spot for her little band, which coincidentally is currently overmatched, trying to dislodge some local bandits who happen to have a tank.
Soldiers who relieve the war.
So how are we gonna deal with the tank?
It's gonna be tough.
I can handle the tank, Lieutenant.
Corporal?
From this beginning, Pumpkin Scissors seems to experiment with a number of potential plot lines for the series. There are corrupt nobles and bandit warlords everywhere. Some of them seem to be getting modern weaponry, more sophisticated than the Empire itself has, or any of the Empire's old enemy nations from the war, for that matter. But every time Section 3 manages to grab a sample of one of these advanced weapons, or take a knowledgeable person prisoner, they disappear or die. Where are these new automatic weapons coming from, and who's working so hard to cover them up? Then there's the big mystery about Corporal Olin himself. He was a member of the 901 anti-tank troop, a unit the Army denies ever existed, the so-called Invisible Nine. Where did he get that ghostly blue lantern and that custom-made armor-piercing handgun of his? And why does that lantern have such a strange effect on him? Every time someone investigates the 901 ATT, they get killed too. Another mysterious cover-up. Finally, there's a lot of tension between the classes as the gulf between rich and poor has grown in the Empire. The nobles are generally corrupt and uncaring about the masses. Meanwhile, the undernourished commoners naturally resent the nobles and their wealth. And from the shadows, someone is stoking that resentment towards rebellion. These are all interesting themes, to be sure, but the anime isn't going to actually deal with any of them. Oh, we do eventually get a few episodes involving a small peasant revolt.
Right is an ugly sink. And once you get one start,
there's no stopping it. Unless you're Lieutenant Alice Malvin, of course. Not only does it end simplistically, but the anime just teases that there was a hidden group lurking behind that rebellion. It will also tease that the commander of one of the army sections was glad for the riot, hoping that in the aftermath he'd been given new, sweeping authority to suppress the commoners. That storyline will also involve the longest sword duel in the history of video, a fight that takes 3 full episodes to resolve. I wouldn't complain if it had been amazingly or uniquely animated or something, but it really wasn't. Most of the episodes will just give Corporal Olin a chance to turn on that magic lantern of his and become the lumbering, fearless, and implacable agent of destruction only he can.
奴らは青い鬼火と共にやってくる
After 24 episodes, the series ends without resolving any of its major plot points. Who were the conspirators supplying the advanced weaponry to the warlords? Who created Olin's mysterious 901 ATT and is now covering up its existence? And while we find out who's stoking the passions of rebellion from within the nobility, the Pumpkin Scissors unit won't find that out. There's enough material here for a couple more seasons, but you'll have to check out Utaro Uenaga's manga for the resolution. The story is also very simplistic as it deals with these themes, making Lieutenant Alice Malvin way too naive and enthusiastic, heedless of all consequences and danger. It trots out the tragedies of war when it suits the purposes of the story, and then regresses to either trivial solutions or even childish humor. It really can't decide whether it wants to be taken at all seriously. I think not. Pumpkin Scissors is a joint animation project of Gonzo and AIC. For Gonzo, it's very restrained and obviously on a budget, probably because it's directed by AIC's Katsuhiro Akiyama, who directed many other projects for AIC, such as Gal Force, Bubblegum Crisis, Soul Bianca, and Bastard. The scripts are by journeyman writer Yuji Hosono. The music is from Ko Katani, and it's lackluster considering his splendid work he did with Haibane Renmei. Pumpkin Scissors was originally an ADV Films license, and their dub is okay, though I find it inexplicable why so many of the minor characters have German accents, but no one else does. I also noticed that they completely changed the next episode preview narrations, which in Japanese was actually addressed to the platoon's dog. So, I give Pumpkin Scissors 2.5 stars. It's a workmanlike project of stunning mediocrity that only fidgets around some interesting story possibilities and never actually delivers on any of them. Pumpkin Scissors was originally an ADV Films license before they collapsed. Funimation rescued it and shipped the 6th and final DVD after a lengthy hiatus. It's too bad they bothered. Thanks for listening.